Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, your favorite Giants podcast. I'm your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan, who is a little bit under the weather. So if I make a joke that's almost funny, he might laugh, and then he'll cough for about 10 minutes. So I'll do my best to edit that out if it happens.
There's a much better chance of me coughing than me actually laughing at one of Grump's jokes. So let's just set the bar right now.
That's 100% true. So we got some Giants news. We also have a continuation of what our draft month was supposed to be. So we went over last week. We went over the news of Dexter Lawrence requesting a trade, etc., and what we thought of that. We also went over what the Giants should do with pick 5, and what we think they should do with pick 5. Today, we're going to keep going over some news because we do have more Giants news, and we're going to go over the rest of the Giants picks very generally and just sort of what are some draft targets in the range according to consensus for their other picks, because the Giants do have a very strange draft this year. They pick very high in the first and second round, and then they have no third round pick. That is a huge stretch from 37 to 108. So we have a lot to kind of discuss. Let's get right into the news, which is the Giants signed quarterback Brandon Allen. What was your immediate thought, Cranky Fan? You gotta unmute first.
Great. First smart thing I've said in 3 years was muted. I think when we did our evaluation of the positions, we had said that we kind of wanted a third quarterback anyway, and I think it's important. And at this right now, I think for 2026, I think it's important we have somebody with some experience in the NFL as opposed to drafting one. The big reason for me, as much as we're excited about Jackson Dart and as much as we think he's the cornerstone in the future of this franchise, it's still his second year, and it's his first training camp and his first training camp as the starter, and it's gonna be his first year as being the starter from day one, no ands, ifs, or buts. And we're excited about it, but nothing's a guarantee in this league. And there is a chance that he is worse than last year. Chance he might be significantly worse. To a chance that maybe for a game or a series or a quarter or something that we have to bring in Jameis or a decision has to be made or something. And I want to make sure we have full depth at this position right now. I don't think, 3 quarterbacks is that much of a big deal. And the other point with this is, again, I know it's more of a media creation than probably anything else, but the style of how Jackson Dart plays, there's probably a little elevated chance of injury than other quarterbacks that are out there. And I want to make sure we're fortified that if he goes down and Jameis has to play, there's something behind him than a Tommy DeVito or someone that's just not capable of playing if called upon. So I think for this year, for 2026, getting a third quarterback and someone who has been around the league and exactly in this role is perfect. And we'll see in 2027 and beyond if that's still necessary or this type of quarterback we want to get.
Yeah, I mean, you hit pretty much all the points right there. A third quarterback, I think, is going to be super crucial. Oh my gosh, sorry. This is actual real breaking news while we're recording this. Diana Rossini is resigning from The Athletic after that. That's pretty crazy.
Wow. I mean, we went.
I get it. But good.
What?
I understand the scenario. I'm not making a commentary on it or anything like that. I just didn't expect to see that flash across my screen just now.
I'm just surprised. We went from The Athletic actually, giving her full support and everything to she's gone this quickly. So that's my only take on it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. In any event, that's neither here nor there. Has nothing to do with the Giants or this show. You hit all the nail. So the third quarterback thing, we had that discussion a while ago. It's important. And I do want to touch on this because it's something that pissed me off all season. And you're right, it is mostly a media-driven thing about the style of Jackson Dart's running. But that's the truth as of April 2026. Does he go back to that? Does he get more aggressive? How do things change with a new coaching staff, a new system, a more run-heavy system? Like, do we see more of that? Like, I don't know any of that stuff. And, I can't control Jackson Dart's competitiveness. Like, does he get more competitive the more the stakes are raised? We saw him playing on a shitty team. A shitty team with a losing record the moment he put his cleats on the field. What happens when they're not a shitty team and the division's on the line? Does he throw himself head first? So as much as I think what is in the past has been a media-driven narrative, there is at least enough of that narrative truth that says that in the future this could be an issue, right? So having 3 quarterbacks is super important. Also, Brandon Allen, as he is, obviously not a super impressive quarterback. He was picked in the 6th round or something like that. He's made his way around the league. Just watching him, he backed up for Brock Purdy. He backed up for Joe Burrow. Those are 2 of the most injury-prone quarterbacks in the league, right? So he's gotten some time. I've seen what he does. Now, of course, it's not good. This is a backup quarterback that we're talking about. I would say that what he offers in 2026 is probably better than Russell Wilson 2025 and definitely better than Tommy DeVito 2024. So this is still an upgrade, right? They've still upgraded.
He seems to me like a guy who's going to know the playbook, and when he goes in, he'll know what to do. Whether he can do it or not, it's a different story, but
A professional.
it's not going to go in, not someone like a deer in the headlights guy that we've seen, in the last couple of years when the Giants, finishing out week 16, 17, 18 in some of these lost seasons, we've got guys in there where, Grump is a better option as quarterback. So I feel like him has been around the league. He knows his role in the league. He knows why he's here. He's going to learn the playbook. He's going to know the playbook. And if he has to come in that emergency situation, it's just not him, doing quarterback sneaks to get, 2nd and 9.
I want to look too, because I think that there's a connection from Brandon Allen to the offensive coordinator, possibly.
I feel like maybe in Tennessee.
I think Bobby is the one who pulled that out. So I'm trying to see if he tweeted that out. But in any event, I this is not like. So he was with Brian Callahan for 4 of the last 5 seasons. This is what Bobby said.
There you go.
So that's the quarterback coach. And that's important, right? Because it's going to be most of his job on a day-to-day basis is going to be the terminology stuff and his work in the room and in drills and pushing the other quarterbacks.
It's important too. If he's been with him for 4 of the past 5 years, we are installing a new offense on this team during training camp. And if he knows it more than anyone's, he's going to help move this offense a little forward as they do their drills, as they learn their assignments, as they learn their things. So his greatest value on this team might actually be from now until opening kickoff in September.
Yeah, bingo. I mean, you nailed it, right? Like, they have to install this stuff. This is just something that helps ingratiate it, right? You only have so much time with the coach. Jackson Dart likes to text people late at night. Maybe coach is asleep. Maybe coach is with family, and he's still studying film or whatever. This is now a player that he can bounce off of. This is somebody who's standing next to him on the field. Maybe coach is off yelling at somebody else over there, or maybe he's working with Jameis Winston in that moment. It's more knowledge. It's more bases to ask
Knowledge
questions
transfer,
to. Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy about this one, even though it's going to be forgotten about. It was probably forgotten about the day it happened amongst most of the fans. But this is an important piece, even though it doesn't cost much. It's important that you get it right, and I think that they did a good job there.
It's important around the margins. Again, if he has to play in week 17, we have some serious problems.
That's not why you're worried about it, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
Any quarterback 3 that has to play a game is not like there might be one quarterback 3 out there that actually could win you a game, and the reason he exists is because he's actually a quarterback 1 that sustained some horrible injury or something of that nature. Like,
or a rookie they're just stashing away until next year or something.
Right.
They think. But yeah, again, the only reason I sent that was because I don't want people's expectations to be like, oh, well, we're saying for what this is a good signing, but we know what it is.
Exactly. All right. So we talked a little bit about the first pick last week with the 5th overall, but I'm not really sure that we got the concrete. What does Cranky Fan want? I know you always like to build middle out and as close to the ball back, right? So Uh, you felt pretty good about both Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs, I think, at the
Yes.
linebacker and safety positions, respectively. I don't know where you landed on, say, Francis Maui Noah, who's actually a right tackle, but could potentially kick inside to guard. But even if you don't want to do that, do you take a tackle when you just signed Jermaine Illuminor? There's other guys, I just want to throw their names into the mix and their position for you to consider that are, according to consensus, near where the Giants are picking. I don't think they're going to be, but I'm just going to give you three, right? Wide receiver from Ohio State, Carnell Tate. Would you be interested in that? Edge from Miami, Ruben Bain. Would you be interested in that? Or corner from either LSU or Tennessee, Mansour Delane or Jermod McCoy? Would those interest you at pick 5?
Well, Bane right now would absolutely not, because of all the stuff going on with him killing somebody, so driving. So I would have him off my list immediately.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's football reasons too, right? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have the proper length to play edge. The production is all there though. So what do you do? And this goes back to our Adam Ingroff conversation from a couple weeks back, where, okay, that's fine, but here's a list of all the players that had his measurable limitations that were picked in the first round that made a second contract, and the list is 0. So that's a real concern that a real scout worries about, that drops people like a whole round. Aside from everything you just mentioned, which just happened either yesterday or Sunday, right?
I believe it came out yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, so you also have the corners, the tackle, the wide receiver, linebacker, safety. Any of those really sticking out to you that you like want to plant your flag, or are you open to a lot of different things here?
I'm open to a lot of different things, including trading around, because I was going to ask you the question, like, as we kick this off, do you see this mix of draft picks being this, how we actually draft on the draft, or do you see us moving around? Because I just have a sense we're going to be moving around all over the place. I think not having that third round pick, to me, sounds like something that's going to be rectified. And if there's nobody obvious that they're complete love with at 5, and we mentioned last week how 5 was a weird place to draft, I could see us moving around and trying to get another pick or two and have more bodies coming into camp than what we have right now.
So I'll say that I think that they're going to make a trade on draft day, but I don't think that the trade's going to happen at pick 5, because this is a weird spot to pick only really in this draft. You think back to 2 years ago, there were 3 quarterbacks picked 1, 2, 3, which means that outside of quarterback, the best players in the draft got pushed to 4, 5, 6, right? So this draft, Fernando Mendoza is, somebody who's not like a blow-away elite trait quarterback, but is a very good quarterback, should go first overall to a team that needs a quarterback.
He's a clear 1, even though he's not a Hall of Famer prediction 1.
Exactly, but there's nobody else. I mean, like, the media isn't even fooling themselves into Ty Simpson being, that's not even a conversation. And they normally are very notorious and guilty of that.
The media is getting bored because I started hearing Garrett Nussmeier again for about 20 minutes. And I was like, he still sucks.
Yeah.
That's how desperate they are to have more conversation about the quarterback position.
Well, exactly. And what that means is that the best players in the draft are going to go 2, 3, 4, which means that the 5th spot becomes an anomaly, which means it either becomes a grab where there's somebody that got left out, or what's probably more likely is that nobody wants any of those guys badly enough to give up something to get them, which means that the Giants won't be able to trade down. Where I think the trade down could happen is going to be at pick 37. And the reason I say that is because pick 33 through 35 are gold, because they're all the guys that fell out of the first round for bad reasons. And I mean that as in other teams are hyping up other players. Teams reached on talent or production or traits or a position of need, and these guys tumbled. But they don't usually tumble to 37. 37's always going to be a good player because it's the top of the second round player. But that 33 to 35, those are first round players that for dumb ass reasons, teams overthought and didn't draft them. And I don't think 37 falls in that mix. But I do think that there's going to be players there worth trading for. It's going to cost less to trade. I think the Giants are going to get their 3rd round pick by trading down from 37, not 5. So that long-winded ass answer I just gave you, 5, I'm going to say I'm happy with any of the following: Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Francis Maui Noah. All of those guys to me are worth the 5th overall pick. All of them are helpful and transformative. I don't think Francis Maui Noa is likely. I think that one is probably less than 15% likely. I don't think that they're just going to draft a guy in the top 5 and kick him inside to guard. They also just signed Jermaine Illuminor. They're not going to sign him to be a backup, even though there is logical reasons to do all that stuff. I'm saying it's less than 15%. Sonny Styles, I think, is going to be the next most likely because I think that he flies around the field. There's obvious production. There's a lot of upside. They need a linebacker really bad. But again, I think that one's going to go even further behind Caleb Downs as the most likely because the safety group that they have, I don't think has shown anything to give any confidence to a former defensive back head coach who prioritizes the defense, and Denard Wilson is the defensive coordinator. He needs those defensive backs to communicate with each other, rotate post-snap. They have to be intelligent. Right now, not only are they not intelligent, they're not even good safeties. I think that Caleb Downs fixes that, and that's the most likely scenario. And I would be happy with that, too.
Well, let me take a step back. For those 3 guys you mentioned, purely on a talent level, are they all in the same category? Is one like a reach over the other 2 or one clearly above the other 2? Are they, in your grading system, are they about the same for their position?
They're all very close. I would say Caleb Downs is the highest, Francis Maui Noa the second highest, Sonny Styles the third highest, but they're very, very different. So, like, Francis Maui Noa and Caleb Downs are going to get an edge over Sonny Styles because they're all 3-year starters at their position from high school. So Caleb Downs and Francis Maui Noa, like Francis Maui Noa went to IMG Academy, okay? And he played tackle there. And he was very good at tackle there, was an immediate true freshman starter where he played tackle, and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Caleb Downs is a very similar story. He's always been a safety. He was a true freshman starter at Alabama and then became a starter for Ohio State. And he's very polished and very good. Sonny Styles switched from safety to linebacker 2 years ago. So he's going to fall down just a slight peg from the other 2. Caleb Downs, is a starting safety. Like, true, he can play any defensive back position outside of outside corner. I'm happy with him playing all over the place. He looks comfortable and smart. Francis Maui Noa can kick inside, but I would never move him to left tackle. See what I'm saying? So that's my hierarchy of orders. Caleb Downs, Francis Maui Noa, and then Sonny Styles.
If I was GM, knowing what Harbaugh wants to do, that he wants to have a solid offensive line. He wants to establish a running game that's going to complement Jackson Dart's strengths and also the other, strengths we have on offense. And a guy like Mauno who, can kick inside, can be your right tackle, can do things. I think they want good bodies on this offensive line. So my gut is telling me that's who they're going to take.
Man, I mean, I would be perfectly happy with that. I really would.
Yes.
I have no family connection to Caleb Downs. If I did, that'd be rich because he has NFL bloodlines. Like, I think he's like the nephew of Dre Bly. So,
yeah. Let me preface this by saying I am not. But any of the names you said, I'm not going to be like, God damn it. I'm not going to call the fan up and want to burn down the house or anything. But
even if the other 2 are on the board, let's say all 3 are on the board and it's not Caleb Downs, it's Sonny. I don't care. That's fine. I'm happy with all 3 of those picks.
I'm just thinking about my personal preference and what I want to do and I value the most as, the bedrock of this team, I think needs to be offensive line. And from there, everything else kind of flows around that. I want to get as many good people on this offensive line as I can. That's a problem of riches is a problem we haven't had on this team in a long time.
Very long time. Yeah.
So let's do that because there's a lot of pieces. Then we have to, we could fortify that, and then we can worry about other big ticket things later on. So that's who my pick would be. But again, perfectly good the others too.
I'm going to bounce us down to the second round where the Giants are picking 37th. They're picking 37th. And I'm going to name some guys that are according to consensus around there, and I'm going to do them in position groups. Okay. For the offensive line, Arizona State tackle Max Ihenacher. I'm saying that wrong. He's a right tackle. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. He's good. Other offensive linemen, 2 interior guys to consider. Emmanuel Pregnon, the guard from Oregon, very, very polished player. Also, Chase Basantis, interior guy from Texas A&M, who's actually from New Jersey, so we know we love that. Those are our offensive linemen in the 37 range. How about defensive linemen? Someone you might be familiar with, Caleb Banks. There's somebody else, the Christian Miller, the defensive lineman from Georgia. Now, again, this is according to the consensus. These guys could be off the board. And then another thing to consider would be corner. There's the corner from South Carolina, Brandon Cisse, and the corner from Tennessee, Colton Hood. And then last thing, I'm just going to throw this one out there, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, who was pretty much won every single defensive award this year. Anything stick out immediately besides Caleb Banks because you know him?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it depends on what we do in the first round, but I would like to spend this year fortifying the lines. So to me, offensive line, defensive line, best available for either one of those sides when we get to our pick. Caleb Banks, came back from an injury. Obviously I'm gonna root for the guy, coming out of college, but I'm not pick him because he went to Florida. I just keep going back to offensive line. And, if they're not going to take, what's his name with the 5th pick, I think I really want to go inside and go guard. So the first guard you mentioned, I think is the one I would probably, in the perfect world, probably grab.
So
if we didn't go offensive line in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, you can answer a little bit more general. You don't have to pick one because I'm not giving you all that. Yeah. So Chase Basantis, I think is, I'm doing this off the top of my head. I don't have my write-ups in front of me, but I'm almost positive. Right. Emmanuel Pregnon's 24. Whereas Chase Basantis, I think, is 21 or 22. So, I mean, that may factor into your decision. Obviously, you haven't seen them, but they're rated closely. I get your point. You want to go towards it. And I'm with you. I don't have a problem going either trench here. I would personally, if I had to choose a pathway, I would rather do something else at 5 and get a guard at 37. You know what I mean? And get a true guard rather than get Francis Mauigoa and move him inside. It doesn't really matter because I think he'll be really good at it, but it definitely feels less efficient to use your highest ticket thing and change his position, right? Whereas you could just get a guy literally in the next round. We're not talking that much later in terms of talent level either. I mean, there is going to be a talent gap, but I don't think it's going to be major.
Remember, we don't draft for this year. We draft for the next couple of years, especially with the number 5 pick, and who knows next year, Andrew Thomas may be out in week 2 next year and be out for the whole year.
Yeah, all of a sudden, that would change the calculus for sure.
Exactly. And that way we know we have somebody that we could put in. And it's not like, oh, well, we drafted a guard lower down. It may not be the person, but we have somebody with the skill set who, if we had to go in there too. So,
that's possible.
Go ahead.
That's possible. I mean, I just personally, if I had to pick, I would not go Francis Mauigoa at 5. And I would just get a guard at 36. I get all of that's logical, and I would be fine if that's what happens. But
agreed.
It seems like half a point less efficient to do it that way, even though it comes with versatility and flexibility. I mean, now you're talking about kicking Jermaine Illuminator to the left side if Andrew Thomas gets hurt, and then kicking him out to the right side, and then who's playing right guard? Daniel Falele. So to me, I would rather just get a guard, but. Also, I would be if Caleb Banks is hanging around, that dude's a monster. I think that he's absolutely worth the 37th pick. He's probably going to go earlier than that, and that wouldn't shock me. But he's an absolute monster. You put him next to Dexter Lawrence, I suddenly have a lot less fears. And then if you add in, on defense, at least I have less fears. Add in the fact that you have, maybe you drafted Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs behind him, and that's going to solidify the defense even more.
So
trenches.
Back up a minute.
Yeah.
Back up a minute. So you slip something in there really quickly. Caleb Banks next to Dexter Lawrence. So your assumption is Dexter Lawrence will be on the New York Giants week 1.
I think that even though he doesn't have as much leverage as he wishes he did with 2 years left on his contract, etc., the Giants don't really have any leverage to let not only their best player, but pretty much their only defensive tackle hold out. So I don't if it's a matter of the Giants not wanting to extend him when he has 2 years left on his deal, I think they'll get over that. If it's a matter of the number being too far apart, I think that they'll find a way to find common ground and find a middle ground with him to get it done this year. I think they want him happy this year, yeah.
Yeah, I was going with, not being traded. Like, and we're numbers with numbers, they'll figure that out. But he will be in the plans for this year, whether how they re-sign him or whatever. You don't see them trading him.
I don't think so. I don't see.
Okay.
I think I would categorize just like we did when we did like the position grading. I would. That's like a category 5. The world's on fire spot already, and that's with the best player on the team playing that position. So
you're drafting thought
to
process
supplement
doesn't really change with the status of Dexter Lawrence.
No, I mean. Look, if Dexter Lawrence is going to get traded, then it changes in this way. They need to draft defensive tackle in the first and second round. They need to trade down in the second round to get a third round pick so they can get another defensive tackle. That's how it changes the calculus at that point.
Gotcha.
The Giants then pick at the top of the 4th round. And this is where shit gets really bonkers, right? It's going to get a little wacky. So here's some guys sort of kind of around that area. We have some more defensive tackles, but they're getting less good. Somebody like Chris McClellan, who's basically just a giant body nose tackle. Some tight end Sam Roche, who's a two-way tight end. I don't know how much we're going to worry about tight end going forward. There's some offensive linemen like Logan Jones, who's a center from Iowa. That they could definitely consider if they're going to move on from John Michael Schmitz going forward. And that's really the thing, right? They don't need a center this year to have an operating roster. They have a center, they have a backup center. But they don't necessarily have a center for 2027. So when we start getting here, the 4th round.
The 4th round pick someone that goes into that for 2027, or is it?
Well, I think it's more. It depends on the position, right? If you need a running back, maybe you can find a running back here. Giants don't really need a running back, despite them shopping around for an explosive one. You're not finding that talent running back here, but you could find a serviceable running back here that has like a role. Other positions, what you're looking for the 4th round, they're going to be backups and special teams players first to start their career. 4th round picks are Dane Belton. Dane Belton was not a bad 4th round pick. He just got paid. He just got a second contract to go work for the Jets as a backup safety and a very good special teams player. That's what you're starting to find in the 4th round. Of course, there are plenty of examples of offensive linemen that are not only starters, but very good starters that were picked in these middle rounds. It just gets very hard to predict, but
exceptions don't prove rules either.
No, but also you have to understand that the backup for this year can develop into the starter. That's this range. You know what I mean? And they could develop into a very good starter because of their character or their work ethic or just because of a scheme fit or any number of reasons that makes it different from being a regular starter to someone who's potentially in Pro Bowl conversations, but they were both drafted in the 4th or 5th round. But essentially, when you're picking, you need somebody who's like, this guy, if he had to start week 1, we're in trouble. But if he has to fill in for 2 games, weeks 14 and 15 in that first year, we may not be in such a bad spot. Like, this is a legitimate backup. And that's fine.
I'm kind of feeling like wide receiver around here a little bit. Someone who may not have like the great speed or all the intangibles like the size, everything, but is technically really good. Like someone who, I don't know, led the Big 12 in the conference in receptions, but maybe isn't as fast as some other guys. Like that type of pick I'm looking at. Because again, that's someone that's not going to be relied on to be, wide receiver 2 on day 1, but we know is a good wide receiver that maybe could develop into something going forward.
There are some wide receivers in this range, and I'll talk about them a little bit. Jacoby Lane is a very, very big wide receiver from USC. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was okay. I would be fine picking him here, but I don't love the prospect specifically. Okay. Another one that's a little higher than this, but not by much. He's currently at number 93 on the consensus, which is, maybe 10 or so picks before the Giants, is Bryce Lance. So it's Trey Lance's little brother. He played wide receiver at North Dakota State. The production is ridiculous. It's
That's what
off
I'm
the
talking
charts.
about.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing: it's North Dakota State, so you know it comes with the caveat of like the route tree is kind of limited. It's a lot of go balls.
Where
He's
did where
faster
did Jerry
than.
Rice come from?
I actually don't know the answer to that, but he did.
Someone
I
really
do
small like
know.
that too.
Yeah, I do know he didn't run a very good 40.
Yeah.
It was like a 4.5 or something. It's like not fast at all.
Someplace small like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Phil Simms came from Morehead State, like,
Mm-hmm.
but Bryce Lance is a perfect example of somebody to take here that has some work to do, but you have plenty of data that says that this is going to be a good player. To stay on the offensive line, like trench front, we touched on the defensive line. Here's some offensive linemen near this area:
Yeah.
Austin Barber,
Oh.
Jake Slaughter,
Oh.
and there was one more that I scrolled past: Jude Bowery, Markel Bell. I saw Markel Bell and Jude Bowery in person at the Senior Bowl, and I can say neither of them are good. Also saw Austin Barber, and I can say he was better than the two of them.
I just can't get the vision out of my head in the A&M game this year of Austin Barber getting destroyed repeatedly, play after play, thinking like in my head, oh, his NFL stock just dropped really badly because of this game. So
Yeah, I mean, I
game,
think so for
one
sure.
data point, one sample size, but just something to think about.
No, I think it's definitely something that dropped him in the pre-draft process, like during the season, and then because he was a very highly rated prospect before the season started. He was high up on big boards, as a tackle prospect. He didn't look amazing at the Senior Bowl either. You know what I mean? Like he had some wins, he had some losses, and some of the losses looked bad, some of the wins looked good. So he basically did not ruin his draft stock. I'm sure he learned some things down there, got a little bit better. But yeah, I mean that's essentially what you're getting, and you would say that's a backup tackle right now for 2026, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm cool with those. One other name I'll throw in the mix at corner: Malik Muhammad from Texas was highly rated. I think people saw that he's maybe not as good as they thought. He's very grabby, whatever. But again, 4th round pick. What we're talking about is special teams in depth first year. Maybe he grows. In the 5th round, the Giants have pick 145. That is going to... this is more of the same as what we were talking about with the 4th round pick. 4th and 5th round, and then even to a certain extent the 6th round, which we're going to get to, you're looking at mostly special teams in depth. So here's some guys that are not depth. Nick Singleton, running back from Penn State. Something to consider. I know they're not going to find the explosion trait that they were looking for with this pick, but they might. You know what I mean? Like there might be only thing that they can find, like a Katron Allen, also running back from Penn State. So there are some running backs here that I think will be considered by the Giants, even though they're not going to be like crazy explosive or whatever. Towards the trenches, defensive tackle Tim Keenan from Alabama. Big body, mostly a run stuffer. Offensive tackle Isaiah World from Oregon, who was, I believe he transferred to Oregon. He's like 6'6" or something. He's gigantic. But sloppy. Needs work. Anything like that sounding good to you? Would a bigger body defensive tackle sound good? Like Rayshawn Benny from Michigan?
I don't have a problem down here getting guys that are projects a little bit because we're not really relying on to jump in on day one. And I feel this is a coaching staff right now that has leeway and breathing room to move things along. This is not a, like last year where Brian Dable was under the hot seat that they have to win now or anything. This is the start of an administration, the start of getting guys that fit your system, the start of developing people. So as we get into round 5 and round 6, I have no problem with guys that they see having skills and tools, but need development, and they can get under their wing and wait a year or two before they have any meaningful time on the field. So
yeah, I would agree with that. One name that always pops up around this time when I do like mock drafts or just kind of poke around is Iowa guard Bo Stevens. He's okay. You know, some of the Senior Bowl, there's some wins, there's some losses. There's definitely things he needs to work on. He's not great. But again, that's kind of what we're looking at here. You're not going to find somebody with a clean write-up in the 5th round. But again, you know, at the end of the day, even if he's just guard depth, they need guard depth. I mean, Evan Neal is a camp body to me. Until he actually makes a 53-man roster, I don't think he's going to. Daniel Falalele, maybe the same thing. Maybe not. I mean, he at least is a guard, whereas Evan Neal is not.
And these guys in the 5th round could push those two for sure.
100%. And learn alongside of them, you know?
And let's say they're 95% of Evan Neal. You got a guy that's 4 years younger and a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm. The last 3 picks that the Giants have are all grouped very close together in the 6th round, so this is kind of one conversation.
Okay.
And the Giants have picks 186, 192, and 193 in the 6th round. So very, very close together. So they get to pick 3 guys in here. And again, these are their last picks as of today. They don't have a 7th round pick. So it's perfectly fair for you to just be like, I don't care what his name is. Who's the best kicker? Mm-hmm. That is a fair thing, I would say here. Problem is their best kicker is probably not going to be there in the 6th round because there's actually a pretty decent kicker this year coming out of the draft, which means that you're probably settling for a second best kicker. But again, it's one of those things, right? You do your due diligence. Are you cool with that? Fine, whatever. It's a 6th round pick. Most of these guys play special teams anyway, so some names to keep in mind that I see around here. There's tight ends. Nate Borkacher, Will Kazmarek. These guys are flawed, right? They're either going to be more athletic receiving tight ends or more unathletic blocking tight ends. And Riley Nowakowski from Indiana. Also,
let's not draft him because we can't say his name.
Yeah, right. Running backs, another spot. Again, this is going to keep coming up. Kalon Black from Indiana is one that pops up around here. Seth McGowan from Kentucky is one that pops up around here. Those are guys that I've watched that I would consider. There are offensive linemen like Parker Brailsford from Alabama, Jeremiah Wright from Auburn. I mean, now we're getting down so far. I don't know how much this is going to be helpful, but again, you're viewing guys, not positions. And then the last thing is there's some safeties around here, and this is typically where you find defensive backs and linebackers, by the way, because they have the right size, they have the right athleticism, but they're not very good at their jobs. Right? They're not good safeties. They're not good linebackers. They're missing it a little bit up here.
But you can take a flyer because of the physical traits.
Because they can play special teams. Because they have the size. You know what I mean? And they are athletic. They are fast. They do hit hard. And they have the size. But they're not very good at playing safety yet. Because maybe they didn't get a chance. Right? They only have 1 year of experience at the position. And they played at a school that runs a very basic scheme. Maybe they got hurt. And they don't have a lot of experience for that reason. You know, there's a number of reasons. Maybe it's a position switch for them. You know what I mean? And they're not Sonny Styles. They couldn't just pick it up immediately and become amazing. Right. So that's where you take those. And guys like Justin Jefferson from Alabama, who's a linebacker, Jacoby Thomas, the safety from Miami, who's also kind of plays a weird position at Miami where he blitzed a lot. Those guys, they pop up around here, and they're usually good picks because what you got is a good player. Even though they're not good at their position, they're good football players. You know, another one to consider: did the Giants really love fullback enough to draft Max Bredesen from Michigan to play fullback? Certainly a thought. You know, maybe he's an undrafted free agent. Maybe he's not. You don't have a 7th round pick to find out. So, all that being said, is there any position or name or anything that pops out to you that's just like in the 6th round? Or are you at this point just like, I trust them to pick good players?
I like the idea of a good kicker if one drops down. You know, it's such an important position that there's no value, like people never want to draft high or anything or give up a lot of capital for. But to me, it's so important. So I think if you see one that kind of squirts down there, and I think
I lied to you just while you're talking about kicker. Trey Smack is the highest rated kicker on the consensus big board, and it's very low. It's 288.
Okay, well, I would love to have Trace Mack actually.
Okay,
So
talk about him a little bit because you know his ins and outs, whereas people will probably just be looking up stats.
Trace Mack last year in the first game, I think he missed like 2 extra points. Everyone's like, "What the hell is going on?" And then he was basically flawless for most of the season. So big leg, clutch guy. I'd love to have him. So if he was to fall to the 6th round, I would take a shot with him. And again, that's not with orange and blue colored glasses on. He is a legitimately good kicker. And again, if you're getting down to the six round, 7th round, you're kind of a little crapshooty anyway. Let's throw some chips in for a position that if it hits is something you don't have to worry about for a long time.
Yeah, I would be absolutely okay with Trace Mack. I did see Will Ferrin, the BYU kicker, who's the next highest, just for listeners, at the Senior Bowl. Not good. I would not have categorized it as a good kicker. Saw plenty of misses there from not that far away. So at that point, if they miss out on a kicker, I'm going to stand by this. UFL isn't a place to grab a kicker and let him compete. They have 2 kickers on the roster already. They have Ben Sauls and they have Sanders.
Right before you announced you lied, that's where I was going to actually go. Is like, now that the UFL is around, that I think the pool of kickers, I guess they count as draft picks if you draft someone that's in the UFL, or how does that work?
Because of the staggering of the seasons, their draft cycles don't line up. So
okay, so
guys that if they're
the Michigan kicker or something, or
what do you mean?
Like the St. Louis kicker, for example, you can't draft him in the 6th round, right?
He's a free agent. He's not draft worthy, and because he's a free agent that's under contract right now. So until the UFL season ends, you can't even talk to his agent.
Okay, so we don't the NFL and the UFL don't have like a reciprocity agreement or anything that says
no, because yeah, the point is to create a pool of good free agents, but those free agents don't become free agents at the current schedule for the UFL until like June.
Okay.
And again, none of those guys are going to garner a expensive contract. The most you might get is someone who's really, really good will get like a longer contract, like a 2 or 3 year one. Like I think Kevontae Turpin, the returner for Dallas, I think his contract immediately was like a 2-year deal because he's just a dynamic runner. So those guys, you can't even talk to them right now.
So now, that's different.
Just as a quick caveat, Mike Rapoli is trying to change the UFL season start next year. He couldn't do it this year because of all the off-season work they needed to get done, but he wants to move that season start date up, I believe, into late February, which would make them free agents after a 12-week season. When you have 4 weeks in March, 4 weeks in April, so it would be almost right after the draft. You'd be talking about like
so when's
May.
it start now?
Right now, it starts in March. It started like March 27th. Okay. They're only in week 3 right now. They just finished.
I think that's a good idea for a lot of reasons. Take that momentum from the Super Bowl and the end of the season and get people who are in football mode, because a lot of people lose football mode. They get into hockey, basketball, and all the other stuff. I think that's a good idea. I
don't want to like dissolve the conversation, but it is more complicated than that though, because you have outdoor stadiums. How do you fill seats in the north? In Ohio, for instance, you get people going to Columbus in February outside for spring football. You bet your ass it's going to be empty stadium.
That's a bigger conversation with the UFL, where they're going to be viable for and what markets and stuff. But yeah, gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and to just give that kicker a name, Matt McCrane for the DC Defenders in the UFL has missed 1 kick thus far. It was from 55 yards. He is otherwise perfect, and that includes 2 60-yard field goals that didn't just cross the crossbar. Like there was plenty of leg, and they were directional too. I don't believe they were middle of the field. So does a name.
Does the UFL have the same extra point yardage as the NFL? Did they move it back also? Is it still the college one?
No, it is the 1 point the 1 point extra point is the same as the NFL. They just have a 2 point and 3 point alternative.
Okay.
That's the only difference. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. So you're cool with a kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And Otherwise, is there anything else like you're just like at this point I would rather a linebacker or a tight end or anything like that, running back, wide receiver, nothing
I think
specifically.
when you get down there, it's just you pick the guy that you pick athletes you like that you think you might be able to develop. I don't think you can go position specific down there.
I agree with you. I mean, at that point you need to get good players, good people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if
Right.
someone is falling for a weird reason, like a medical or a character issue, then by all means, that's your chance to swing.
That's your evaluation and your decision to if you want to how much you want to roll the dice.
That's kind of all we had planned for this episode and this discussion. Next week, we're going to do a fun exercise where we do a mock draft and we talk more specifically about the draft therein, because the draft is next week, guys.
My God, really? I'm looking at this calendar. It's in 9 days as we record this on Tuesday. Jeez.
And that shit happens so fast every
That
year.
means
So
I gotta get a anniversary gift for Cranky Wife. It falls right around that time.
you're
So.
so lucky that you just have like an annual reminder for that.
I'm so
lot
lucky
of-
she doesn't listen to the show either.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, she's lucky she doesn't listen to this show.
Oh, well, yeah.
So that's what's coming up next week. Be sure to follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. Until then, go Giants.
Go Giants.